Hey everyone, Tangie here. Hope everyone's doing well today. And hey, today I've got my first guest on the Tangie from Dallas podcast. And it's an honor to have this beautiful lady, a sister of mine, a darling friend of mine. And the way we connected was just the cosmos doing its thing. And we've been connected ever since. And what I've always been inspired by was one, her amazing voice. I was captivated day one when I saw her and heard her where we were. And we'll talk about that in the podcast, but I immediately gravitated to her. But as I began to get to know her and watch her movements and hear her story about life, I realized just how much her life and my life were in the same vein, and just some of the same things we've gone through, some of the same struggles, and just our walk just mirrored each other. And I knew right off the bat that she was just a star seed, that she had greatness all in her. And I'm like, okay, this is somebody I need to make sure that I never lose a connection with. And so I'm happy to have her. And it was by choice, and it was definitely strategic that I decided to ask her to be my very first guest on my podcast, because I knew that what she bring today was going to captivate you all, give you some things to think about, and it was just going to certainly enlighten and brighten my day. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce to you Collette McLafferty. Collette, how are you, babe?
Hi, that was such an introduction. Thank you. I'm so honored to be your first guest, and I cannot tell you how excited I am that you pivoted so quickly and are giving useful information because there's so many people going through this right now. I am so excited to be here.
Oh, well, thank you so
Yeah.
much. Yeah, I didn't even write a script for that opening. I didn't need to because I know you
No,
hear it, right?
it was like it was channeled, you know?
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
coming through, chick. It was coming through. So as I know we've got a chance to catch up a little bit.
Yeah.
And I've of course I've been keeping up with you all these years. How many years has it been?
Oh, wow. That's an excellent question. Well, I was living in New York City, so it's been a minimum of 3 years. Has it been, would you say five,
I'm gonna say sounds
six?
like 5 or 6. And yeah,
Damn.
I'm telling you,
Oh, wow.
we met on we were what was the name of the group? God,
Andra Day.
that
It was
yes.
Andra Day Rise Up.
Yeah, Andre Day Rise Up with
Uh,
Rockin'
Rockin' 1000.
Rockin' 1000 in New York
Hmm.
City.
Oh, that
And
was amazing.
imagine a whole gang of people, musicians, singers, getting together all at one accord and about to rock out to do this video for Andra Day.
That
And
never came out.
that never came out, which I saw the
Insane.
footage and I'm like, man, that shit would have been dope. It was just every time I see it, because I still got it. I
Yeah.
still got
Oh, good, good,
I
good.
still got it. I look at it and oh, because it was one of the most precious things to me to be able to come together with complete strangers. But at that moment, it was like we were all one, you know?
That was an otherworldly experience that nobody, unless if you were there or if you were at any other Rockin' 1000 event, you'll never really understand unless if you're actually in the shoes. And especially since it was a music video also, and then it rained outside in Hoboken when
Do
we
you
were
remember
singing
that?
Rise Up down the streets, like, and then it never came out. And you're
Never
just
came out. Shout out to Rockin' 1000 and all of our peeps who are going to see this. Man, shout
yeah.
out to y'all. If y'all, I don't know what you have
Oh,
to do to get that out, but Andre Day, that's a masterpiece. I don't know if you
yeah,
got a chance to see it. I'm going to tag you on this video. I don't know if
absolutely.
you got a chance to see that work that we did,
It was
but
so good.
it was so good. It
So
was
good.
so heartfelt. And we just fell in love and made
Mm,
that song a
yep.
totally different. Every time I hear it now, I cry. It's just I cry, not because I'm sad, but I remember what I was feeling during that time. You know what I'm saying?
And the unbreakable bond. So it's like, even if people from that shoot, even if we don't speak for years, and even though I think, like, have we physically been in the same room since that day 6 years ago? I don't think we have. I think we almost have. But doing that project, there is that unbreakable bond where if you reconnect with somebody else who was there,
Right.
it's like you pick up where you left off, even if you haven't seen them or really talked to them in a while.
Agreed.
Just
Agreed.
one of those things.
I'm still watching Carlicio and Jamil
Yeah.
and all
Mm-hmm.
the
And
ladies.
Pablo
I'm watching
on
them
Netflix.
like back. Isn't that
Yeah,
crazy?
yeah.
Yes,
What
yes.
was funny was right after that shoot, that's when I got my book deal and my computer broke. And I put something up on Facebook like, hey, I just got a book deal and I have a deadline, but my computer broke. Two people from Rockham 1000 like gave me their computer on loan like right away. And
Yeah.
Dan, he ended up playing my book release party. Like like they barely knew me, and they're like, "Here, have my
Right.
computer, write your book on it."
Shout out to my boy Dan,
Yeah,
the man.
Dan the man.
Love me some Dan.
Wild.
Stay on his page because I love his life. And I'm like, one
Yeah.
of these days, I'm going to be able to really work with Dan. That's one of my bucket list items. I just need to have
Hmm.
a part of his life.
Yeah.
So, going into, what we were kind of talking
Yes.
about today, as you know, I decided to go ahead and start this podcast. And Tangie from Dallas is just me being me and
Yeah.
just putting all the stuff that I love out there and just talking about anything. But I have a dedicated effort where every Monday I, as an act of service to the fellow employees at SiriusXM
Hmm.
Pandora who were laid off along with myself,
Yeah.
to give them a platform, and the supporters of those of us who were laid off, because we heard from a lot of people who are still at Sirius who have reached out to us to support us, and God bless.
Hmm.
Um, and so I haven't. I don't, have I ever been through a layoff?
Oh, welcome.
I'm just
I've
trying to
been through a
think.
bunch of them.
Yeah, and that's what I want to talk about,
Yeah.
because in my recent recollection of thoughts and memories, I don't remember ever being laid off. I mean, I never
Yeah.
fired or anything like that. I mean, there been well, was there a closing? But I never missed work long enough to feel the impact of a layoff, right?
Absolutely.
Back in the 90s, it wasn't shit for you to be able to, hey, I lost my job. Monday, you have another one. It was like that.
Hmm.
Not
Hmm.
like that now.
Yeah.
And so going through this layoff, I know that you've been through some layoffs, and that you have some incredible stories that you can share with us through your journey that I
Absolutely.
know will uplift the folks who are listening, whether they're with Sirius or with any other company
Hmm.
and gone through this. But tell me about your life, I should say lives,
Lives,
the
there's like a
layoff.
million of them.
Right, because that's the whole thing, to see you go through all of that and still be who you are, and
Hmm.
achieve what you've achieved. I mean, I'm striving to do that.
I would say at this point, I feel like I'm a professional pivoter because
Mhm.
there's been so many times where I have lost my quote unquote security job because in New York, things are closing down all the time. Things are constantly reshuffling. And I worked more in hospitality. I was a professional musician who worked in hospitality. And I cannot tell you how many times the place that I would work at would just, they'd be like, okay, we're closing down next week. And you're like, what? Um, so I got two stories for you. And the first one centers around Niagara Falls. So,
Bucket list place. That's one of my bucket list
oh,
places.
so I went to Niagara Falls when I was on tour with the children's company when I was about 18, and I'd always wanted to go back. I had lost my hospitality job. And going back to what you said in a previous episode about not rushing into the next thing, but taking that week for yourself and taking that week, for your wellness and to get centered. I took that week of stillness for myself because one thing that I did tend to do, I worked really hard when I was in New York and I rarely took breaks. I rarely took vacations. So I was just still and something popped up and I just heard Niagara Falls. I just heard it out of nowhere, right? So I'm thinking, okay, I need to take a vacation to Niagara Falls before I go job hunting again. So that was just me taking that week for myself. And then I got on Facebook. So I'm on Facebook and I see a post from an actor. His name's Mike Baez, and he was in a music video that I did with my old band Edible Red called Paralyzed. And I saw on his Facebook page, he says, "Hey, I'm doing this movie in Niagara Falls and we're looking for extras."
What?
And now things like this happen to me all the time because I've taken that time to really tap in, and
Right.
instead of being like, oh my God, I gotta send out 100 resumes, and instead of getting frantic, because I took that stillness time. So I'm going to be honest, I'm not the biggest horror movie fan, but horror movies are very fun to make, which I was about to learn. I don't think I'd do it again, but I did it once and it was amazing. So he was working, he had gotten a lead role in a film called Return to Newcomb High with Trauma Films. And he said, we're looking for extras. So I said, hey, I'd love to do it, and I'm thinking I'm going to go in and just shoot this movie for the weekend, right? I'm going to get my little vacation and then I'm going to come home and start looking for a job. I go to the cast house and the extras coordinator said, hey, we want every extra to stand out. So something that makes you special, bring it. So I brought a pair of roller skates, even though I had not skated
Oh shit.
in years. Brought a pair of roller skates. I brought my purple dress that I used to like sing in the 80s bands. And I get on site and I'm doing the movie. And Lloyd Kaufman, the director, who I just read a huge piece on in the Village Voice, comes up to me and like grabs my hand. He's like, I love those skates. He's like, can you climb up the stairs in those skates? And of course I said yes. Of course I said yes. So they shot this scene where like these big monster trucks were chasing us and we're running away from the monsters. And like, so I'm like going up the stairs in my skates and someone's helping me. So we were very safe about it. But it was like my first day there. I got like my own like little scene, right? He liked having me in the movie so much. He'd be like, okay, you're just going to like skate around the cafeteria, and I was also supposed to be a high schooler. And I think I was like pushing 40 at the time, which is like what we love about these horror movies. So it goes so well that they asked me to move in with the cast and crew in Niagara Falls. I ended up staying in Niagara Falls for an entire month. And we did everything. Like I watched them like blow up little model houses and stuff. And like at one point the wardrobe person quit. So I took over wardrobe like the last week and I turned people into cretins and monsters and
get out.
Made some of the best friends I will ever make in my life. And then a year later, I go to the Cannes Film Festival to watch it.
You know what?
None of this would have happened if I had not lost my job.
You just gave me hope, girl. You gave me hope. Straight up.
Yeah. And when you were talking about taking that week, and kind of slowing down and just taking that week for yourself to really listen to that inner voice, that experience changed my life.
Clearly.
Now, would I ever move in to like for a month to like do a horror movie? I mean, like I slept on an air mattress with like there's like 50 of us. No, I probably wouldn't do it again, but doing it that one time changed my life.
Changed everything for you.
Yeah.
That's incredible. And one of the things that I'm taking from that, a couple of things actually, is that when you say you didn't get the frantic, oh, I got to put out all these resumes.
Yeah.
I did have that happen to me. And I was like, no, 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 no. That's not what I need to do. I have to
Yeah.
trust the process and trust the universe. And
Yep.
I really feel like, in you, with you telling me that story, is that that is exactly what happened. And it's funny that they
Hmm.
took you to water. And
Yeah.
there's this whole spiritual side of me that I would tell
Hmm.
people that water is a conduit of
Huge.
energy.
Yep.
And you had all of this rushing energy pouring into you and just manifesting all these great things. Yes, the lesson that I get from that is just to listen
Hmm.
to that inner voice and just chill and let that information
Yeah.
come.
And I went to what I would do is I would wake up earlier than the rest of the cast and crew, and I would start my day because we lived right by the falls, right? So I'd start my day, I'd walk to Niagara Falls and like walk around and take it in. And I mean, come on, if that's not proof that manifestation is real, it is
Agreed.
so real. I mean,
Agreed.
that's so specific. I was there for a month, you know.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that was after that layoff.
Hmm.
So you were able to thrive in this whole different industry, which is
Yeah.
what I am a fan of. And then you're already a creative person, so it just kind of made sense for that to work out for you, right?
I stepped in. It was very natural and intuitive, especially when the wardrobe girl quit and like they just needed somebody in a pinch. I'd only done wardrobe once in my life before. But because I've been thrown into so many random situations, if there's something that has a creative edge to it, even if it's something that I have zero expertise in, I can
Right.
kind of just like dive in and find my way. And
Right.
that's pretty much what happened.
Right. So
Yeah,
that's life number one
that's
after layoff.
and I got a second one.
I'm ready. I'm ready for it.
And this one ties in. Another time, it was another hospitality job, like the place closed down, and they give you, there's no severance, there's no notice, it's just like, oh, you don't have a job next week and good luck.
Yeah.
Um, I didn't want to jump right into another like survival job. So I was like, I want to just try out some like fun things on Craigslist. So I have a long history with the Craigslist talent section, but this was at the beginning of my journey. So I see this ad, and it is a DJ looking for dancers. And they're very clear. There's no stripping. You're not like a go-go dancer. We just need dancers to go out dancing. And I was like, done. I can do that. Right. So I get a call from his name is DJ Disciple.
Of course it is. Ooh.
Yes. And like this has such a awesome like long tail is to it. So his assistant calls me and tells me the gig, like, hey, you just got to go dance. Because at the time, house music was really underground, right?
Right.
And DJ Disciple, he wanted to play what he wanted to play. He didn't want to stick to what was commercial at the time, even
Mhm.
though he sprinkled that in. So he would hire a handful of dancers to just basically, we were paid to go out dancing, right? And so I get there the very first time I do it, and I bought a bunch of friends, which was great. So I think it was at Mr. Black's. I think that was the place. And DJ Disciple, he's doing his thing, and no one's dancing yet. So I'm like, all right. So I just get up and I'm just like dancing, right? And then it's a little awkward, right? But then like other people get up and start dancing. And by the end of the night, it's this
Full blown
crazy
ass
party.
party. It's DJ
You
Disciple,
yeah,
man.
you just need someone to like get it going, right? So I started working for Disciple on and off throughout the years. And I worked with him at Twilo and Webster Hall and a lot of places that like maybe I normally couldn't afford to get into, or I couldn't really afford a night out, but instead I was getting paid to go out. And the Lasuk parties were amazing. Like I'd start dancing at like midnight and we danced till like 5 in the morning. And I would save my energy for the whole day. I drink green tea all day long. So when I got there, it was on. And here's what's so interesting. At the time, I was trying so hard to make it as like in the pop and rock world. And here's house music right in front of my face. So like the pop rock world is like, you're too old, you're too fat, you're a woman, go away, you know. We're like, house music is like, we love everybody,
Yes.
come on in.
Yes.
Um, and so like I really got my education through DJ Disciple when it came to house music and dance music and like the underground parties. And then in 2000, no, actually we recorded something. I sang a song for him called Bird's Eye View that we recorded. I believe we recorded it around 2009, 2010.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing really happens with it. Although once in a while he sends me a text and he's like, oh, I'm going to put that out. I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. And then in 2017, he puts it out like 7 years later. It's remixed by 3 different DJs in 3 different countries. So it's like remixed in Barcelona and the UK. And, you know, for a brief moment, I'm on all these playlists alongside like major dance artists.
Mm-hmm.
And that really kicked off you know, that's a venue that I work in a lot because there was this other thing that I was trying so hard to do that didn't really want me, you know,
Right.
and yet house music was like, come here,
Yeah.
you know, get on the mic, you know. And a few years go by and now DJ Disciple wrote a book called The Beat, the Scene, the Sound on Roman and Littlefield. And now I am helping him get the word out with the book. And like every house music DJ from New York City is in that book. So again, it came from, like, if you backtrack at the beginning, it came from me losing my job. And now could I have just gone into another hospitality job right away? Yeah, I could have. Would I have met DJ Disciple had I done that? No, I would not have. Would I have been on Catch 22 Records had I just gone to the next thing in a panic? No, you know. So again, like I can't stress enough how important that week or that little time that you spend for yourself, really asking yourself what you want to do and just listening to yourself and that stillness, how important that is.
Incredible. We are certainly going to promote DJ Disciple here. I am a
Yeah.
huge house fan, and I didn't know anything
Ah,
about house because I'm originally from Texas, and
yeah.
for the most part, that was the music that we heard when we would go to some of the LGBT clubs and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
smoking, but we didn't. It wasn't really heavy at
Yeah.
home. And
Mm-hmm.
then, oh, I forgot I had my Lucky Charm up here. That's my high,
I
John.
love
Right
that.
back. That's my Lucky Charm. And so, then I moved to New York or New
Mm-hmm.
Jersey, and then get into that scene, and that's when I really learned. Shout out to DJ Bazaar. He knows his
Hi.
name. And being married to him, that
Mm-hmm.
I got all of that, and
Yeah.
even to this day he's still sharing great music with me, Disciple and the whole nine. So
Mm-hmm.
that's absolutely incredible. So let me just go ahead and put this out here. So let me do this
Yeah.
aside. DJ Disciple, I
Yeah.
just need you to know that I have the skills to pay the bills.
She does.
So you can just go ahead and let me get on the track, son.
She absolutely does. Disciple, I can confirm. I can confirm. She absolutely does.
Oh my gosh. So now you've had these great experiences,
Yeah.
all because you took out time to listen to
Mm-hmm.
your spirit, and to just have your quiet moment and not move too fast and take the time
Yeah.
to trust the process.
Mm-hmm.
You've gone on to do all those things.
Yeah.
Your singing career, being the session singer as well, the being the artist with Confessions of a Bad Ugly
Bad ugly singer.
Kick-Ass book.
Yeah.
Tell us about all of that.
Sure. So I also, as I was working with Disciple and our song came out on Catch 22 Records, I had ventured out of trying to become, a famous pop rock singer because it simply was not in the cards for me. So I started doing session work where I would bounce around, like, it could be a country song one day, it could be, a hip hop hook another day, or a commercial for a toy the next day. I found a lot of work on Craigslist, believe it or not, Craigslist talent section.
I remember I used to do it.
Oh God, there used to be so much stuff. But over the years, it's morphed more into, I work a lot off of a website called Vocalizer, where they have producers from all over the world. I've been on that website for years. And then there's also other sites that I'm not on these yet, but there's Air Gigs, Sound Better. So there's so many websites now
I'm
for
writing.
creatives.
I'm writing.
There's also for voiceovers. You got to tell me you're doing the voiceover thing, right? Because you have to.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, I was about to do all that for Sirius. I had them the department reach out to me, and they've got had me on their
Wow.
list, but I got laid off. So, and I said off like you did, laid off like the New Yorkers. I got laid off.
Well, here's the good news. Like Sirius, yes, they were groundbreaking as far as radio is concerned. They were a disruptor, but Sirius is not the end all be all. Sirius does not own the whole market on voiceovers. There's a whole world out there. There's voices.com. And to be honest, these things, they are time consuming, they are competitive, but if it's, if someone's serious about it, it's worth it. It's worth putting in the work. I think there's other voiceover websites as well. I think you talked about Fiverr on a previous. There's Fiverr, but the days of just all of our income coming from a one job, like those days are over. Like
you got
and yeah.
hustle is real. You got to have multiple irons in the fire, and I've always been the one to just throw things at it and see what sticks.
And then I also found during the pandemic, like when everything shut down, I also found out about like testing out apps and websites for like a quick $10 or something.
Really?
So yeah, there's 3 sites that I work on. I have worked on Userlytics, user testing, and IntelliZoom. So I am the queen of the side hustle. So I'm always looking for things like if I have a little space between vocal jobs, I'll go on, UserZoom or IntelliZoom and like test out an app. And again, it's trial and error. It might not be for everybody. You do got to put a little work in. But I enjoy the process of like testing out apps, and then you give them feedback and you tell them like how they can improve it. So obviously it's not going to pay the mortgage, but it could pay for lunch, it could help pay the grocery bill, it could help pay the phone bill or the utility bill. And in times like this, when your world just gets disrupted, all these little things add up.
Well, I will have to ask you to send me an email with all of those sites that you just mentioned.
You got it.
I certainly know that if you come up with any other ideas or job opportunities, I'd like for you to just do a little recording for me, and I will just insert that right into this podcast.
You got it.
And put that out there, so we'll keep your name circulating around. And what was the other thing that I was going to say? Shit. What was I going to say? Girl, I'm getting to that age where it just doesn't stick. And if I don't write it down, it just isn't happening.
Was it a voiceover thing? Did it voiceovers, session work, testing websites? You don't have to just have one job anymore. The stillness, taking time to listen to yourself. Do any of those?
It's gone.
Oh, that's okay.
It's straight up gone.
You're gonna remember like the second we hang up, you're gonna be like, oh,
like. But oh my gosh, this was amazing. What final words that you like? Well, I'll say final for this podcast. I got you coming back.
Sure, but, absolutely.
What final words? It's almost coming back. It's like it's almost trying to come back.
Okay.
Okay, so house music, house music is almost trying to come back.
Confessions of a Bad Ugly Singer, book, DJ Disciple, New York
I
City
can't believe I just
creatives.
thought about that. I literally, it's like ugh, on the tip of my tongue, and it's so important
I
for me to
know.
say, and I can't remember it. But you know what? That just means I have to bring you back for me to say, hey, I remember.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
A final thought. Yes. Okay. If there, one thing that is constant is change. Like that's the one thing we can all bank on is something that we're all going to experience
mm,
is change. And the world is changing, especially on one hand, you don't just stay at a job and have job security and then like get a toaster when you retire or like the brass ring or what that's gone. That's not in our culture anymore.
mhm,
But on the other hand, ways of making money have expanded. So like it's just so vast what you can do for a living these days. Like there's a guy who created a job where during the holidays he's like an elf, like he's a real live elf on a shelf, and he
mm,
goes to parties in an elf costume and sits there on the shelf, and he gets paid for that, and then he must use the internet to advertise his services.
right.
That's a job that did not exist. You know,
Yeah.
he made that job. um Podcast did, like, you know, I did a podcast 10 years ago. There was the Dr. Blockstein's radio happy hour, and I could not imagine what podcasts have become today, or what people, even solo entrepreneurs, are capable of building for themselves in their living room. So I would just say, because I've been in situations where I've lost something that was grounding, and that the next chapter that came in was such a pivot, but I could not predict it.
Mhm.
Just to say, like, hey, you can't really predict what's around the corner. Um, but just be still, be open. Sending out a million resumes is actually going to block your opportunity. Trust yourself, trust the voices. There's going to be little hints of voices like, call this person, send this email, go outside, you know, and it's going to lead you to the right place. And chances are it's going to lead you somewhere really unpredictable, but beautiful. And you all got this. That's what I'd like to leave you with.
Right on. We got this.
I
Collette, I love you to bits.
love you too. I'm so happy we got to do this. Thank you.
Right.
I'm so honored. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And I will be bringing you back again very soon. And
Excellent.
I hope that you have a wonderful day.
You too.
All right. Everyone,
Thank you.
thank you again, Collette McLafferty. And I will have all of her links and all of that stuff. So send all of that again.
You got it.
All of her links and all that so that you can connect with her on social media, where you can pick up her book, where you can hear her music and the whole nine, all in the comments and on this podcast, wherever you find it. So with that, I'll go ahead and sign off and say later, Gators.
Later, Gators.
We're back again because I
Yep.
remembered what I had to tell her just that quick as soon as we got
Yeah.
offline. So when you were talking about, you know, how you're being played all over in Europe, right?
Yes.
Across the seas.
Mm-hmm.
That is something that the way that they accept music, it's not like
Mm-hmm.
it is here where it's about the commercialism
Yeah.
and it's about how you look. They love the raw talent that you have. They don't give
Yes.
two shits how you look. But if you've got the talent and you can
Mm-hmm.
jam and you've got the skills, they will
Yeah.
embrace it. They will embrace you, and they are loyal to your work. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's always been my thing. I was like, because I tried it here, but
Yeah.
you know, it just wasn't coming together here, and the competition was too great. And I'm sorry, I wasn't, you know, going to starve myself to, you know, be
No.
$150 just to
Mm-mm.
be, you know, But I know what I've got. And so I
Yeah.
said, you know what? Whenever the time comes, I know that I need to pivot my focus to Europe and places outside of the US when it comes to entertainment and to
Mm-hmm.
music and that sort of thing. And the other thing is that there's a radio station. The only radio station that I listen to that I stream in the when I'm in the house or whatever is Amsterdam Funk Channel.
Oh, Amsterdam has
Amsterdam,
amazing radio.
Amsterdam. Well, and I do listen to Nostalgie Funk out of France and all of the stations that I listen. Well, most of the stations I do listen to a few here, but most of the stations that I listen to,
Yeah.
all in Europe,
Mm-hmm.
every last one of them.
So I actually used to go to Amsterdam to
Jealous,
tour Amsterdam. Like I would go
jealous.
out there with my band or my guitar, and we would just book a ton of gigs, specifically in Amsterdam. Sometimes we'd go to other parts of Holland, but because we didn't really have a touring vehicle and you can get around via public transportation, we would book little mini tours there, actually come home with money
Mm,
after our flights and hotels and all that. And what was really interesting, that's so funny that you brought up Amsterdam. We could even pick up extra gigs. So if we had a day off where we would have liked to gig, but we did a gig where someone really liked us, they'd be like, oh, I know this place that you could play tomorrow. And I don't know if this is still the case, but at the time, some of the venues got funding to bring in music. So I remember one time I played some like bakery and there was like three people there and they gave me 150 euros. And I'm like, how am I even earning? And they were happy to give it to me, even though it was like there was barely anybody there, right? And so we did a bunch of Amsterdam radio stations. There was like an Amsterdam morning station that we did, and there was such a love for radio, for music, just going out and hearing music and supporting artists and supporting bands. Such a huge part of the culture, and I don't feel that like I did find that there could be this cutthroat element here in the United States when I was doing it at that time. There's simply no need for that, you
right,
know.
right.
So funny that you brought up him. I did like 8 tours.
I'm here to tell you,
Yeah.
I know it's in the cards for me. I'm trying to see if I can
Mhm.
pull it off this year, if not next year, but
Yeah.
laid off changed a whole lot. But I just have this funny feeling that if I go, I'm not gonna want to come back.
We'll get I recommend that you get on Vocalizer because there are producers. I've been on Vocalizer since 2015. There are producers from all over the world, everything from just like a talented young producer in their bedroom to major label producers, always looking for talent, always looking for vocalists. It's a worldwide thing. I mean, I worked with I worked with producers from Japan, Holland, Germany, Italy. It's worldwide. So I say get, and especially if you want to do anything that's dance oriented, get
Yeah,
on
that's what
Vocalizer.
I want. I want to go EDM house.
Yeah.
That's where I'm
Hmm.
at, right?
I mean, I think house music would like devour you. Like they would just like it's so welcoming. Like
Yes,
it's come on in, it's for everybody. And I think they would absolutely
I would be
love
so
you.
for it. Okay,
Yeah,
so I've got my homework assignment. I
you
will
got
be
it.
vocalizing.
I'll send you all the information for Vocalizer and all that good stuff.
That sounds good. Okay, guys, now we're going for real this time.
Okay.
Bye now.
Bye.